extra minutes, and then we can start this module 4 of the VITALISE postgraduate course. So yeah, welcome everyone. Let's start on this module 4 about stakeholders and stakeholders engagement, panel and panel management. My name is Leen Broeks and I'm the panel manager of LiCalab. We will introduce ourselves later on. So, and that on the eve of Halloween, but yeah, don't worry, it won't be scary or it won't be creepy. And hopefully it will inspire you to engage with your stakeholders and your end users. Let's see if I can go through the next slides. It seems to be a bit stuck. Carlos, you have the technical, because I'm sharing my screen and I want to go to the next slide, but it's stuck. Can you help me out?
Lynn, maybe try to answer and reshare it until Thomas can work through this.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe it will help it out.
So I will stop sharing and then I will start sharing again. Let's see if that works.
Now it works, I think.
Do you see a next slide? At my screen, it's still the first one.
For us as well.
Okay, not yet.
Did you press next already, I guess?
Yes.
No.
No, it's stuck.
Maybe try now. I have changed to host.
No, not doing anything. So I will stop sharing again.
Lynn, when you press the share screen button,
yes,
it gives you options. And maybe you should choose not the slide itself, but your screen, if it is possible.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. My screen. Yes. So let's see if this works.
If you are clicking, nothing changes.
No, nothing changes. Let's try again. So I share my screen. Share it. No.
And if you share the PowerPoint,
yes,
window itself, does it do the same? Have you tried it before?
Let's see.
Okay, if it doesn't work, I will ask you to send me your presentation and I will share it with the audience.
See, now you see, and I'll put it in presentation mode.
Good.
So wait a second. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Good job.
So welcome again. Next try. So this is what we will talk about today. A bit of an introduction. So yeah, this is a collab. This webinar is a collab between LiCalab, based in Belgium, Alt from Greece, and also ENOL, the European Network of Living Lab. And Koen will tell us shortly about stakeholder analysis and profiling, and then I will take over with some, how do you manage a panel? And then Vasiliki from Out will give you a sneak peek into a panel management tool called PanelLab. We have prepared an exercise for you, a bit hands-on, for about 15 minutes, and then there will be some time left for some Q&A. So a bit more about LiCalab. We are based in Belgium, in Flanders. And for the last 10 years, we ran a lot of projects on care innovation. So we are a research group now embedded in the University of Applied Sciences, Thomas More. We are a living lab. And we do user research in the context of people's daily life. Our focus areas are care technology and collaborative models in care settings. And we don't have, of course, we have an office and we have a building, but we are a living lab. That means that our test environment is at people's houses, but also within care organizations, in hospitals. And we are also partner in broader European network. So this is a collab also with Odd. So Vasiliki, perhaps you can shortly introduce your living lab.
Of course, thank you. Thank you, Lynn. So my name is Vasiliki. Our living lab is THESAHAL, Thessaloniki Action for Health and Wellbeing Living Lab. It has been founded in 2014 in Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and it operates under the Laboratory of Medical Physics and Digital Innovation. What we do is we apply the living lab methodology with aim to improve the health, the quality of life, and the independent living of individuals, and more specifically chronic patients, older adults, people with disabilities, etc. We are working with the quadriplex helix, connecting academia, industry, society, and policy makers, and we cooperate with key European and regional partnerships. Moving on our next slide, you can see a few words for our community we have created here. It's more than 100 individuals and 100 stakeholders, collaborators of THESAHAL. They participate and share their experience with us through researches, social innovation activities in order to create solutions that enhance their health, independence, and quality of life. And we like to call them our early stage researchers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vasiliki. So when the third partner in this webinar is ENOL, the European Network of Living Lab, and Koen is here with us. Because before diving into the aspect of how to involve stakeholders and end users, of course, it's important to map your stakeholders. And what I forgot to mention is, please, to the participants, feel free to drop a question or a suggestion, a comment during our presentations. So feel free, put them in the chat, and Vasiliki, but also Thomas will monitor the chat, and we will make some time for it, for your questions. But Koen, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, should I present myself?
No, but
doesn't matter. While you get the slides back up, I will shortly introduce myself.
Okay, yeah.
For those who didn't see me last week in the webinar, my name is Koen Vervoort. I'm also based in Belgium, part of the ENOL network, like they say, European Network of Living Labs, and my role is one of senior stakeholder strategist, which is supporting our network in developing a global community of living labs and making sure that all stakeholders are involved and that no one is left behind, empower everyone to innovate to the core.
Yeah, sorry, Koen, I can't share anymore because the host has switched off sharing my screen.
Who has the host? I'm not the host, so who is the host?
Sorry, we will fix that in a moment.
Okay.
I think the easy way is to make Lane the host for the whole
Yeah, I
time.
was co-host, but someone switched off.
Anyway, while we wait for the slides, let me start with posing the 1 million question in this room, and please type your answers in the chat. What is a stakeholder? This is to you, participants. If you need to answer a question about what is a stakeholder, what would you say it is? And I know you cannot unmute yourself, so you will have to type in the chat.
Okay, now I can share again. Let's see.
Yes, could you please try it again?
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go. So yeah, just put on the next one, please.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's see.
Thank you, Nela. That is indeed one type of stakeholder, indeed. So now you have to go to the presentation again. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if that works.
Okay.
Yes, so like Naila was saying, stakeholders are not only the ones being involved or interested in what you are doing within your living lab, but also affected by your living lab in some way. And like Naila was indicating, they are directly impacting, not only the living lab is directly impacting their life, but it's the other way around as well. Their input has a direct impact on the living lab's way forward. If you click on the next slide, Lane, then you will see that there is actually in literature, if it works.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
I keep talking in the meanwhile. So when you talk about different types of categories of stakeholders, then we are talking mainly into three different types of ways of splitting them. Meaning we are sometimes talking about internal and external stakeholders, about primary or secondary stakeholders, and thirdly, which is the most used in living labs, within direct and indirect stakeholders. So when you talk about direct and indirect stakeholders, direct stakeholders are actively involved as participants or users or other different roles within the living lab, which were discussed in previous webinars, into the day-by-day tasks and activities of the living lab. Indirect stakeholders, however, they focus more on the results, about the results and the outcomes of the projects or the long-term strategy. They are usually for instance, the customers of a living lab. They are indirect stakeholders. Briefly, internal and external. Yeah, well, leave it like this, and now you find a way that to move forward and backwards. Internal and external. Internal stakeholders are the ones which playing an active role within the living lab, and external or the others. And primary are immediately affected, and secondary are indirectly affected. Okay, so if you go now to the next and you talk about stakeholder engagement, then it's a matter of no, it doesn't work anymore, probably. It's the witches of Eastwick here. When you talk about stakeholder engagement, it's about transposing a plan, which usually is there, whether it's a strategic roadmap or it's a project plan or it's an event plan, and you need to transfer this into a approach of involving people. It is also to do with transposing starts with the why, if you are familiar with the golden circle of Samuel Sinek, into the starts with the who. Who are we actually doing it for? But it's equally doing the same about transferring ID killers into ID boosters. So instead of, no, this is not possible, well, yes, maybe it's the right time, or, well, it's too difficult to manage, into let's fail forward, or well, it's just like this. Well, let's not take it for granted, all this kind of thing. So looking at everything from a positive perspective. I just keep talking, Aline.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think the best way is if you can share your screen and don't put it in
Yeah.
presentation mode and just click on
Yeah.
the next slides.
So
Then at
now
least
you
I
can
see something.
Yeah, okay. So let's do
So
this. Now
on the
you
left-
can see the
On the left, you
screen.
just, yes. On the left, you just click on the next slide and then they at
Yeah.
least see.
Yeah, okay. So
So,
should I
yeah.
try to do in presentation mode? Fingers crossed.
You can.
Okay.
So this is a slide where I was talking about
Yeah.
Simon Sinek, and you need to start with the why, but if you talk about stakeholder engagement, you need to actually start with who, and the why will come from that. If you go to the next, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were the ID killers versing in the ID boosters, meaning you always have to look at it from opportunities instead of barriers. Stakeholder engagement is about identifying opportunities and overcoming barriers while grasping them. It's also, when you go to the next, while we're on a roll now, let's see if it works. It's about translating a very difficult story, which a living lab can be, or a living lab project sometimes is, a complex, wicked problem, into different approaches for different profiles based on their story. Stakeholder engagement is also, if you go next, it's about thinking outside the box, starting from a white page, and not copy paste. And it's always about the project's triangle, and so it's about quality, money, and time. But if you need to think outside of the box, you need to define the box first. So if you press next, there should be an error. Well, yeah, you cannot think outside the box before you scope the box, and that's what you need to do with stakeholder mapping as well. Who needs to be involved? What kind of level of involvement do we need? Over the last years, we have developed, if you go to the next lane, sorry, I have developed being involved in like 200 and plus living lab projects in IMEC in my former career, a kind of uniformed approach, whether you talk about macro level of a living lab, whether you plan to run a living lab project, or even when you plan to organize a certain living lab activity, you can always take the same 6 steps, which is the scoping. That's what I will be mainly talking about. And all the others will be tackled by Lane afterwards. But before you start doing something, you need to scope what is actually going on, what is expected, what do we need to do, and then the planning comes from it. The supporting, the engagement, and the rewarding and the protection comes next, and then only then you should launch your activity or your project or your living lab towards the users in this case most of the time. And there is no use in doing it while you don't monitor what you are doing, because you can learn from doing, and those lessons learned you take back to the next scoping of an activity, the next project, the next phase of a project, or the next strategic activity of the living lab. And if you have done these circles a few times, you will see that your ecosystem as a living lab will grow organically. So if you go to the next lane, scoping is key. So when you talk about stakeholder engagement, you need to, and when you look at the macro level, you need to think about what will we do for whom and why are we doing it. Remember the slide of Simon Sinek, it's not only the why, it's also the whom. I've seen many projects in my career in which they try to, where they created the most marvelous things, where they were building the most amazing car, but in the end, they forgot that the user was looking for a bike, for instance. So you need to always keep track on who are we doing it and why are we doing it and what are we fixing, and what are we going to do? Who do we need? So if we look at who do we need, there are like, spoiler, thousands of ways to do stakeholder mapping. The ones which we are using in living labs quite often. I will present 2 and a mixed version of them. But you can do stakeholder mapping in many multiple ways, as long as you keep the back of the quadruple helix in mind and knowing that you need to involve the whole society to a certain degree, it will work. Something else which I developed over the last years, and I think I developed it actually with you, Lane, when we were founding you like 10 years ago. It was what by then was called panel circles, and now it's called panel squares. And it's based on the 6 degrees of separation, the idea that all the people that in less than 5 steps you can get to Bill Gates. That's the project. And so and when you go to the next slide, you will see, if you start mapping your stakeholders in the quadruple helix and you see them. Oh, something funny has happened here.
Yeah, it's a bit
we
Chinese.
need to leave. It was in English, I can tell you, but no matter. It's within the thing, and I will send the pictures later on. So every quarter of the square is one of the quarters of the quadruple helix, meaning academia, public administration, private sector, and society. And when you look at your problem, and you first step is you note all the people which are not only involved or interested, but also affected. Don't forget those, because these are really important to identify gaps. And if you identify those from the beginning, you might get them involved in your project, and your results will increase massively. But you can organize these post-its which you are having on the squares from the middle to the outskirts as being from the highest involved inside the project to the lowest involved. That's what you see on this picture. But you can also take the same post-its and use the square in another way. If you go to the next, square looks the same, but you can say, okay, which are those core, which is the end user which we are doing it for, and how are all those relation with all the other ones to those cores. The cores are standing in the middle, and then you can map them from direct to indirect stakeholders. And this will work in the same way, actually while doing it, you will see that this slide and the previous slide are usually the same. Yeah, no, doesn't matter. You can go to the next. Another way of mapping all the same posters which you saw in the previous one, and I think I sent it the presentation a bit too soon, so I will drop in a minute a picture in the chat so you can take a look at the filled power interest matrix. Is another way of looking at stakeholders is, okay, who do we have here? And which of them have the highest influence on the result which we are trying to achieve? And on the other side of the spectrum, which are the most available or the most interested at those? And if you cluster them like this, then you will see that the ones, again, from the previous slide, all the posters which you have collected, which have no influence at all or very low interest, and low interest, you just need to keep track of them. You need to monitor them. If they have not so much influence, but they are actively interested or highly available to participate, and you will have many of those, Helene, and many different projects in LiCalab, you need to keep them informed because you want to keep them with you for maybe a next project where they can have more influence. The other side of the spectrum, then you have the high power people with low interest. Usually these are politicians or company owners which are not directly involved in the solution which is being developed or services. You need to keep them satisfied. So because they can have an influence on your next thing. And then the ones which you need to focus on the most, of course, are the one with the highest power and the highest availability or interest. Interest and availability is not always the same. Usually people with high interest have less availability sometimes, or the other way around. So you need to work a bit with this. This is never a perfect exercise as well, but if you, well, and I don't see, something is going wrong totally with the sharing today because I cannot put the picture in the chat, but I will send it to Lady so she can share it with you. So I have many examples of this from our network. Then you will see actually what you can do with this is what Lane will talk about later probably, is you will need different engagement strategies for each of these quarters to keep them involved in what you are doing. So, and then there is a perfect thing which you can do, that's mix these two examples, because you can take the quarters And you can just put them on the interest power matrix, and then you will see that the closer to the center, the more influence they will have, so the higher they should be, and the more to the right, the more interested they are. So you can do this, but you can still use the 6 degrees of separation to see how far from the core are these people. You see? So in each of the circles, so in the middle circle, you map them on the power interest matrix, then the second one you map them, and the third one, and so on and so on. And then you get this kind of view. Whatever you do, whichever method you use for stakeholder analysis and mapping, the end result should be handshakeable. It's about the handshakeability. Like I said, I don't even know if it's a word. It's what I call handshakeability. So you will have a lot of different stakeholders identified, and then you need to look at them in those 3 levels which we were talking about. So on the left column, you see the 4 helixes, which were represented. And then on the yellow column, you see, if you talk about the macro level of a living lab, you usually see these types of post-its, which needs to be involved in vision, mission, governance, business model, all that kind of stuff. When you talk about projects, then it becomes a bit more specific. Then you are usually talking about subgroups, and this is the project level. And when you start organizing something, I don't know what you're presenting, Lane, in a second, but if you're organizing an event, you need to make these people handshakeable. You need to put a pin on them and say, okay, we need those 65 plus people being disabled or food delivery, because you can go up to such a persona, like we call it, and actually shake a hand and say, okay, you're welcome to come. So this is the most important. No matter what type of stakeholder analysis or mapping you use, make sure that you divide them and that you don't mix them up, because usually what we see is on the same level citizens as 65 plus. And I think you will talk about this as well, Lane, a bit more, but it's very important to understand the different layers in the stakeholder setting which you are doing. I can talk for hours, for days, even weeks. I've done this. You can always reach out to me after this webinar if you have other questions or comments. I will be here, of course, the whole webinar. But by this, I would say I sum it up and I give the floor, I think, to you, Lane.
Yes, thank you, Koen. So yeah, now Koen told you about who are your stakeholders, and for whom are you doing your project. That could be, in our case, it's always something to do with care innovations, product innovation. So now you know for whom, that's the key question. And now I would talk you through some strategies we use to find them, to engage with them, but also how to protect them and support them. For us, we really champion human-centered design. So citizen engagement, end user engagement. We really believe that it gives you all the benefits to involve them from day 0 on. So citizen engagement is a two-way interaction between citizens and government or private sector or even academia in our case. And you can engage with citizens or patients or any stakeholder at any stage of your development or implementation. And it can give you a range of outcomes. If you do it from the very starting point of an innovation or a project, then it's more about idea generation that you get from them. But if you're already in a later stage and there is already a prototype, then you can get from your citizens really more effective services that are more efficient and really and more tailored to what they really need. But in the end, local government's point of view, it gives you more responsive and inclusive policy making. What you need to engage with citizens is more participatory methods. There are a lot of them, but we will touch upon that in the next module. Next Wednesday it is the 8th, November 8th, but also module 7 will go more into depth in those participatory methods. As I told you before, LiCalab is a panel-based living lab. So we decided 10 years ago to build a panel, and it's really the engine of our living lab. They are our ambassadors of our living lab and living lab activities. We have a relationship of trust with them, and it gives us more, we can go faster, we can speed up in projects. We can reach out to them and we can do a call to action to our panel. But of course, the other side is that it's an ongoing process of recruitment, that it's quite time consuming. So within our team, we are 3 full-time panel managers, but we not only recruit people, we also do, we facilitate also the workshops. We make up the scenarios for the workshops. We facilitate them and we report them as well. So we have like a double role, but we are really dedicated panel managers. That means that our role is to connect with our panel. We are the single point of contact, so they know if we send out a mail, would you like to come to a co-creation session? They know, okay, it's Leen from LiCalab, so there's the relationship of trust. What I already told, it's time consuming, and you see 2 question marks. What about the bias? Because you have your ambassadors, but you also have some really enthusiastic people who are really enthusiastic on participating. And if you send out an invitation in one snip, they already react on it. So you really have to look out that you don't always involve that few people that are really responsive, but that you really try to have several kind of profiles around the table when you do your activity. And in view of Koen's story, also, see if you have your different stakeholders around the table. So be aware of that. And also the diversity is really something that we need to be aware of. To be honest, actually, if we see who wants to participate in our panel are mostly white people, rather high educated. So about diversity is something that we need to tackle in another way. We believe in the power of hybrid actions and events. What Koen says, every stakeholder needs another strategy, another recruitment strategy, another strategy for engaging and to keep them warm and involved. So you need a mixed kind of sets of methods and also mixed communication channels. Of course, we do a lot of online things, websites, also even online co-creation sessions, but also don't forget the offline activities, because you're not always find the right people in an online community. And something I want to touch upon is to pay extra attention for vulnerable target groups. Like elderly, people with a migration background, people that are deprived. Who is the end user? The end user, you already saw the square of Koen. Yeah, but it's your final user, but much more. So there are a lot of stakeholders that you can involve and interact with. We also, if we talk about the people with a migration background or people that are more deprived, then we use also intermediary organization for that specific target group, because those intermediary organizations, they have that relationship of trust with those target groups. So, and we try to connect with them through intermediary organizations. Every profile has a different approach. But how to start? What we did, and it's just our story, we launched our Living Lab 10 years ago. We tried to have a, you see on the left side, on the right side, our logo. We're in a transformation right now, so we are more embedded now in the Thomas More University, and also our logo is more aligned with that at this very moment. So, but we, I think a recognizable identity is something that you can aim for, and also the visuals will appeal to certain stakeholder groups or not. So please think about it in advance. What is your goal, and for whom are you going to work, and can you represent it in the logo and the visual? But also think about internal communication. Our story is we are a research group within a university with a lot of there are others research groups, but also a lot of students, a lot of employees. So also your internal communication, and don't forget about that also people within your organization know what you are doing and why you are doing it. We had a kickoff event. We were a structural partner in the city of Turnhout, and the mayor of Turnhout, he sent out a letter to all people 60 plus. At that time, we were really focusing on elderly care. As now we are more broadened, and we reach out to every citizen 18 plus. But then back in the days, it was more on care for older people. So we did that kickoff event. We got some local media coverage that always helps. And we get a lot of contacts out of that kickoff event. So that was a general event, but across projects. So now we we ran, and we are running a lot of projects. And then we try to reach out to those specific stakeholder groups through our newsletter, but also via personal email, but also social media. For some of the target groups, it works quite well. For example, when we were looking for young parents who had children with sleeping problems, then Facebook was really where we could connect with those people, and of course, a website where you also can refer to. So where to start? On one hand, we have a general entry level. How members in our panel come to us. It's on a general basis. So we got that support of a local authority by the major sending the letter. And what we see is we try to trigger on innovation. learning new things, meeting people based on curiosity. That's what we will talk about this a bit later on the motivation of users. But we are really going on the road. We're not sitting behind the desk all the time. We really go to local and regional events and try to trigger people to become a member of our panel. So we do a lot of presentations in all kinds of organizations, in all kinds of events, and try to have some media exposure once in a while. The more concreter your question to your stakeholder or to your citizen is, the better. If you can go out and say, would you like to be involved in a project on sleeping problems and stress reduction? And are you someone who has some problems with sleep? Please, this is an invitation for an activity at that time with that duration, and you can meet up there. So the more concrete, the better. But you can also start on a specific entry level through specific projects. As I told you before, if we are looking for, or if we also want to involve more vulnerable target groups like people with a migration background or people with more specific social needs, then we go out and connect with intermediary or media organizations. We also make a general leaflet, so we can leave it. So it's really an offline, old school communication channel. But yeah, for some target groups, it really works. But also online through email. But what we also do is take up the phone and call to people and talk about our projects and talk about our living lab and try to convince them to motivate them to express their opinions, express their feelings, express their ideas. Okay. So here are some pictures of the kickoff event. At that time, we already were involved in 2 or 3 projects where we had our first citizens that worked with us. So we gave them also the word and asked them why do you think it's interesting to have like a citizen panel where you can be a part of. So that's our way of how we do it, but for sure also Tessahal, yeah, they run also a lot of projects and have their recruitment strategies. So Vasiliki, please add upon what I already told you.
Thank you. Yes, so much variety for strategies, and for sure we use a mix of them. One extra feature that we have implemented that we have found it to be very successful is the members card. So once they become members, you can see there on the left side of the slide, we give them a personalized card with their own details, and they have their unique QR card. This QR code helps us with administration issues to make things easier for us. I will explain later on, but also makes them feel more part of our community. And they're actually very proud of this. So when they visit us in the university or in other sessions, they're very happy to show it when they enter as an identification and an honor badge of them actually being a part of our community. We also have collaboration with various organizations and associations that any means of reinforcing the trust in us is very good. And it's also a very nice way to gain access and have people recruited.
Thank you, Vasiliki. So we did some research on what motivates users to be involved. So and what we found out is that the motivation is more on the intrinsic part. It's about social contact, meeting other people, the curiosity to new things, but they also want to contribute to society, contribute to the future organization of care and care products, health devices. They really want to have ownership of their own lives and say, okay, for me, it's important to have my thoughts expressed and that people are aware of what the challenges are that we are facing as a patient, as an older person, but also as a citizen, and being recognized as a patient, as an older person. But of course, there are some preconditions that you have to be aware of. Think about mobility and accessibility. If you want people come to your venue, see that there is a parking spot nearby, that there is an elevator if people are less mobile. But also, if you work with patients, but also citizens, of course, in general, health condition can change quite sudden. So in the morning, if you don't feel well, you can't attend the activity where you were signed up for. But also family circumstances. We have quite some dropouts last minute due to health conditions, but also due to family circumstances. If you have an informal caregiver who's taking care of his or her partner, if something is not, if the partner is not feeling well, so also the informal caregiver can't attend the activity. Is it about extrinsic motivation? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of offering a free lunch is very much appreciated. We also provide some coffee and cake and fruits. And for the last 2 years, after Corona, after COVID, we also made the decision to give a small voucher to the participants. It's like €15 voucher, for a bookstore or for a cinema ticket. But we also offer once in a while an experience. Can be a company visit with a company where we had an assignment with, or visiting a care organization that has a new building, some things like that. We also did a big, if we do a big survey, it could be that we also have a prize draw that they can leave their email address at the end of the survey. And from all those addresses, there is, 3-4 people that win a prize, but also personal benefits. We did a project about the sleeping problems that I mentioned before. Some of the testers were really enthusiastic about the device, and they asked us, can we buy that device? And they had a real good discount for that device, and then they could buy it. So this is our story from LiCalab side.
We have one question in the chat, Lynn, if you want
Yes.
to move on.
Yeah,
regarding...
please, Vasiliki, because I can't see the chat.
Yes,
so,
of course.
Yeah.
How do you finance the vouchers and the lunches and everything?
Yeah, it's a good question. We run a lot of projects, and before, so it's also with an offering, of course, and in that offering we also provide some budget, a small budget for those vouchers. So it's a part of the project. It's in the budget.
If you do the planning right, you have budgeted this that you
Yeah.
needed. Yes.
Yeah. So we think in it in advance. Yeah. But this slide shows a bit how Tessahal is doing, of how users are motivated in Greece. So Vasiliki, please.
I think you covered very holistically all the
Mm.
aspects of how you can motivate user, because they're a very essential part of the Living Lab. So what we do is we try, what you said, to add value to their experience. We try to gather them in different places or provide experiences. One of the settings currently running is in a museum, or we try to make some seasonal events and gather even outside of projects, like we have done last year a Christmas event after all these years of COVID, getting back together. And of course, we try to actively listen and provide a stand for their views and their needs in order to make them feel part of this community. One time we also had them involved in the co-creation process, like they were researchers. So in a very basic level, they developed their hypotheses, they performed research. So this way they could understand better what we do and feel more connected to us. Also, we have organized some common cause events like CSR type. So we have organized in the Parkinson World Day, along with the Patient Association in Greece, an activity that helped gather people, raise awareness around the illness. And also the people that were passing by, they were playing a game to gather points. And then we could get the association some technological equipment. All these are some of the ways that we use to try to connect more with our participants.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vasiliki. Yeah, Vasiliki also mentioned that the word community. So we're talking about panel management, but the aim as well from Tessahal as LiCalab is really have a community, and it's a more stronger connection than a panel. That a panel member comes to an activity, but we try to really build up a community where people can meet each other. And what they really appreciate is the feedback of the project. So here you see some pictures of a panel day, and where we look back at the projects we did and give feedback on the results, but also look a bit forward to the upcoming projects. And that's also another way already to involve them in the upcoming projects. But that's what we hear a lot of from our panel members. They are quite curious on what happened with the results of that co-creation, of that live test. And it's about community building. It's about meeting up with the people that they really feel connected to the LiCalab panel or the Tessahal panel. So as a panel manager, we have a crucial role to bridge between those companies, those other academia, local governments, and the citizens on the other hand. So we as a panel manager are really the single point of contact, but we also are the support of our panel. And we protect them as well. So we are the ones that communicate with the panel, and that's because of that relationship of trust, what we find important. But we also are the help desk. We make the step-by-step plans if we run a live test. So we will make the draft, the manual of how to proceed with the protocol with the test scenario. And we are also the gatekeepers. And then that brings me to the privacy. Also important to protect your members. We do it with an information letter and also an informed consent. But we also have our database, and it's just in our case the three of us that have access to that database. In our information letter and informed consent, and it's really about responsible research, that we say, okay, and what data do we collect? Why do we collect them? Where do we store it? What happens to the data? What can you expect from us? And what do we expect from you? And of course, it's always on a voluntary basis. They can drop out and skip the activity whenever they want to, and also important that they know who to contact. And of course, during the past 10 years, we had a lot of projects, we had a lot of participants, and we felt really the need to log all those activities and all those data. So if a new member comes in to our platform, they fill out a very short intake survey so that we can make like a profile of them. Some short demographic stuff are in it, a bit about the living situation, if they have any chronic diseases, and what the topics of their interest are. And then if they really want to participate and being involved in a project, then they are a participant in a project, and then they fill out some measurements, some validated questionnaires as well. So with all those data, we can enrich their profiles based through the project. If you, I see there is
We have a question on the chat. Yes,
but I can't see the question itself.
It wasn't directly related to a slide. This is why I didn't interrupt you. So we have a question of who is the owner of a living lab, if it's a university, and what is the business model behind the living lab? It's a more general question.
The question is, how can the owner of a living lab be a university, not who?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, and
I thought
both of you are a university-driven living lab. To answer partially from a network perspective, Emilia's question, 40% of our members are university-driven. 40% is government-driven. So just to give a kind of background, and I leave the answer of how do you construct LiCalab or out as from a business kind of perspective. But I know LiCalab and Audio both have customers. So the business model behind the Living Lab are external companies paying for services of your Living Lab. But please elaborate.
Koen really has that overview of how it is in other Living Labs. I can only tell our story. So how can we be sustainable? That's because we are involved in a lot of European projects, and we have funding through those European projects. But on the other side, we also deliver services to private companies. But the main part is coming from European budgets. I don't know, Vasiliki, if you can comment on.
As far as I know, I'm not the best to answer this question, but I know for sure that we're involved in European projects, and if not all, at least a big part of the funding comes from there. Unfortunately, I cannot comment whether we have no.
Tokimos is here, so he can answer that question probably.
But I can provide some more bits. Indeed, it's more on the European projects because it has to do, Living Labs have to do mainly with experimentation in all the process of innovation, which is experimentation actually is linked to research. And when we speak about innovation, it's research that involves also the stakeholders, as Lynn and Vasiliki and Kun explained before. But we are also, since research and innovation is not only about public funding, but it's also a strong interest of companies, we have started moving towards supporting actually certified living labs in order to find access to private funding through likewise from VITALISE, the Axel platform, but also, apologies, but also other opportunities that we have as living labs to create. For instance, the fact that all the partners have worked towards providing the proof that living labs could be considered as research infrastructures, it opens a door to funding of to national funding of research infrastructures. So it's not about public funding or projects funding. Of course, it's the major revenue so far, but there is a lot of effort that is done in order to make sure that living labs are findable, accessible by private companies as well, or by other forms of funding apart from projects.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
and what you are doing, Lynn, is actually selling Living Lab as a service. Huh? You
Yes,
tell you tell companies you don't need to worry about all the involvement and the access and the engagement and doing the research on the go. You offer it like a one-stop shop. You come to us with your product which needs to be innovated, or with your ID, which and you do the Living Lab project in that case at the meso level for them. And therefore, I think to that perspective, IMEC, where I used to work, was doing the same. They were then actually offering it like an incubation program, even to people like you here in the room, students and startups. But well, yeah, the whole idea is these smaller companies, they don't have the resource, and the larger companies, they don't have the knowledge to do it. And that's what you sell as a service to the Living Lab. So
but
I
then
think
for
that's...
the smaller, the SMEs, they can come to us through those European projects.
Yes.
A lot of European projects reaching out to those startups, SMEs, and then it becomes more easy for them to also have like a research on their product.
And Vasiliki and Lane, both of you get local funding probably from the cities where you're involved in, because you are somehow increasing
not on a structural. In our case,
if they have a wicked problem to solve, they know you have the access to the citizens, so then they will come to you probably, which is another revenue stream, which is funding, but another type of funding than European or national project funding. Which is,
okay.
All right. Sorry, I think we can discuss for hours.
Back to our panel management and how to monitor it. So we use Qualtrics. It's a well-known survey builder, but they also have a specific module for managing contacts. But Tessahal, they also, and it's still under development, have the panel app, and it's a community management tool. So Vasiliki, I would like to give the floor to you to go to have a sneak peek of the panel app.
Thank you, Lynn. As you said, it's a community management tool, which is designed to help organizations effectively manage their communities. In the case of a living lab, their panel. It started from our need as a Tessahal for efficient and easy management tool or management of our community. I will provide a very quick overview of the tool, and then I will provide also some demo login information, so whoever wants can go log in, and of course we are always available to talk further about any questions. Right now there are two possible views. So the one is the web version, which has the full functionality and which was initially launched as a product. And later on, when we saw that there was a need for something extra, we developed also an application so as to engage our users to grow the community even further. Moving forward, you can see that the user roles are that of an owner, which has a person that has the right to alter, edit, add managers, do everything in the organization. The manager, which is assigned by the owners and can invite other people to the organization and see the whole list that I will show you about the contacts and the events and everything. And then the member, which is the approved member of the organization, a stakeholder that can participate in everything that they do. Moving forward, you can see the core website features. So what you can do is you can contact and invite people, you can manage your contacts, you can stay organized by seeing current and upcoming events, see details, RSVP status. And also there is an option to track ethics and informed consent signatures and see history of participated studies. If you move a little bit further, 2 slides down, yes, you can see here a screenshot of how it looks like. So you have your contacts and you can see all the details and you can track the interactions with them. This is a feature that we have added. So when you have a new contact there, so when you have a contact there, you can see all the interaction you have had with them and all the projects that they participate in, which is very useful when the panel, when the community starts to grow and there are more people contacting an even larger amount of community. 2 slides down, you can see what the page looks like when you are in the events. So you can create, you can see the description, you can add the URL leading to another web page that has even more information. And the way it works is that you can see the list of attendees, the list of people that have been invited, you can see their RSVP. The way in general it works is that a person can have access to their information, so they can RSVP themselves and see their information. But in case of, for example, an older adult that doesn't want to have access, or for people that you might have contacted by the phone, you can also edit yourself as a manager the RSVP status. And then once the event has passed, you can see if they have checked in or not. This in the future, because I forgot to mention that this is a tool that we are developing with this methodology of the minimum viable product and the whole methodology of the Living Lab, is something that is being developed continuously, and we are adding all the time features that we see fit. 2 slides more down, you can see how it looks like for the project. And then again, how it looks like if you go inside the project. 1 slide down, you can have you can upload in the study the informed consent form, as I told you, and you can also, in this way, you can get a digital approval, so you can ditch the paperwork. And then again, 1 slide down, if you are a manager or an owner, you have also the administration panel view. You can deactivate contacts, you can bulk add contacts to make it easier for people to start using the tool. And we have recently launched also the self-registration codes. So if you're in an event and you want people to log in, or if you don't want the hassle of having to register people by yourself, you have a 6-digit code then people can use and then log in. In the next slide, you can see the application. The application, as I told you, you don't have the full functionality. The app is supplementary. Here you can have, as a member, access to your events. You can reply on whether you will attend or not. You can get notifications, and there you also can show your unique QR code that can be scanned. In the next slide, you can see how it looks like from the manager's perspective. So the manager can scan the card and create an attendance list very quickly, very easily, which in next step can also help us create some optimization features as optimal attendance, optimal contact rate, or create a dashboard to show there. This has been very briefly a top-line overview of the tool. These are the demo accounts you can go in and you can play around and see how it works like. I will be more than happy to discuss with anyone more interested or willing to go around and play. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Vasiliki. It's really worthwhile to take a look into this tool. It has a lot of features, and if you want to monitor some of your activities, then it's really an interesting tool. So here you can also see the email addresses of the people of out. Is there an additional question? Because I saw the number rising in the chat. I don't know if there is a new question.
No, it was the link for the
Okay.
yes, for the evaluation form.
Yeah.
Before
Okay.
you leave. Mhm.
Yeah. So now,
Sorry,
Mr.
Lynn, I think this
Yes.
question goes for me. No, it's sorry. No, it's in 4 languages so far. So it's English, Spanish. I don't remember by heart. Let me. Greek, but I don't think interests you that much. Spanish, French, and Italian. Yes. So it's in 5 languages so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, and for the last 20 minutes, we would like to work on what we told you. So I would, so how come that it's stuck? Okay, so here we are. So yeah, a hands-on exercise. We would like to have you in breakout rooms in a minute. And to work on a use case. It's a project that we are currently running as we speak. It's the DICE project, and DICE is a European Horizon project. It's about digital health in a circular economy. And as you see here, there's billions of waste and e-waste as well that's ending up in landfills like this, and only 15 to 20% of e-waste is recycled. And we know that in the 4 years to come, the use of medical sensors and wearables will even be doubled. So also the e-waste, the digital e-waste will grow. So there's a high need for a different approach. You see here the life circle of a product. But to prevent the enormous pile of medical e-waste, we need to keep in mind the whole product cycle of health, of e-health devices. And we have to work on each step to make it more sustainable and to more ecological and more about recycle and reuse. And additionally, we have to think about strategies, nudging strategies of what can trigger people, patients, to bring their e-waste to collection points or to reuse it, to return such projects. So this is in a nutshell what the DICE project is about. It's about digital health to make it circular, to make it more sustainable, to make it more so that recycle and reuse is more in place. Because of there are a lot of valuable materials in those devices that we can reuse. So we would like to allocate you to 4 breakouts. Breakout room 1 can think of patients really in a big age range. The second group, I would like that you think from the point of view of a healthcare organization or a healthcare professional. Group 3 could think about how can we motivate and keep engaged the local government. And the 4th group could be the developers of the smart health devices. So if all goes right, then there is a link for a Google Drive Word document. You can open it, and in the group you are, just scroll to the specific page, and we give you like 15 minutes, and then we come back to the main room, and please discuss about those questions. The profile, what would motivate your profile to participate, how you keep them engaged, how do you find them, and how do you support them. Good luck. See you soon. I don't know if anyone can hear me, but you can bring them back to the main room.
Hi, Thomas. Are you here?
In 50 minutes, 50 seconds, they will be back.
Yes, I see it. Yeah. Okay, so I guess everyone is coming back or is back already. Yeah, I guess I don't know if you have any comments on the exercise. How was it? Or do you have some general questions or remarks on the topic that we touched upon today? And if not, we would like to thank you for your attention and for your participation. And I suppose that there will be a link now in the chat for a feedback, a short feedback survey. And yeah, we expect, of course, your honest feedback on what your thoughts were on this webinar. I don't know if the link is already in the chat.
It has been shared a few comments up by VITALISE and all. I cannot recopy it, but you can find it like a few comments up.
And what do you mean, Vasiliki?
It has been shared in like 25 minutes ago before we went in breakout rooms.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not the latest link, which is the document that I have shared with you.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
I'm copying it again.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
That's more straightforward. So yeah, please leave your comments and your feedbacks in that survey form. So I will be here for a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, I will follow the chat, or you can also reach out to me or to Vasiliki or to Koen. And thank you very much for your attention, and enjoy Halloween night. I guess everyone is has left.
Yes.
Uh,
The recording could stop.
Yes, I stop it now.